ends of like the side storyline. So that is a little frustrating, but it did end.
All right, well, there's boobs.
And it was great. It was really good.
And there's boobs.
Okay, so let's get to the news. It's time for the news. It's time for the news.
I still do my job, but Buddy...
Did that get to Ninja Turtles, by the way? Did your jingle get to Ninja Turtles?
I'm just upset that I still do my job and Buddy's just stops fact checking.
I know, it's unbelievable. Like, even, you know what, and you called him out last time, and you were right to do it. We've asked him a few times. He's like, "Yeah, I'll look it up," and he just never comes back to it. He just never comes back to it.
He's a piece of shit.
You haven't met Buddy,
and I'm glad he's missing the 30th episode.
Yeah,
I'm glad
he
he's
shouldn't be here for it. All right, so there is a couple of news items that I wanted to run through with you guys, and two of them are Star Wars related. So let's get to it. The first one, The Last Jedi director Rian Johnson. By the way, I hate how he spells his name. Rian. I mean, just use a fucking Y. You know what I'm saying?
Did he have a choice, though?
No, you're right. He did. But he does now. All right.
That's a good point.
So I don't mean to start a beef with the director of Star Wars. That's going to be all over the news soon. Hold on to your butts, host.
Is good publicity.
Yep. So Last Jedi director, which of course is the new Star Wars coming out, number 2 in this new trilogy. Rian Johnson is to create the next Star Wars trilogy. He's been tasked with creating the next Star Wars trilogy, the one that happens after the current one that we're in. So here's the article from IGN. Rian Johnson, director of the Star Wars Last Jedi, will be creating a brand new trilogy of Star Wars films and is set to write and direct the first of 3 films. StarWars.com announced that Johnson will write and direct the first of the 3 films along with his longtime collaborator, Ram Bergman. Great name. Now that's a name, Ram Bergman. That sounds like somebody from like Anchorman.
Yeah.
Ram Bergman as producer. The trilogy will be separate from the Skywalker saga and introduce, and this is a quote, the trilogy will separate from the Skywalker saga and introduce new characters from a corner of the galaxy that Star Wars lore has never explored. So that's pretty interesting. Like, it's not going to be apparently a direct continuation of the current trilogy. It might be its own new thing. So
is it going to have the same starting sequence?
Of course, it has to.
I mean, are they going to... Is it going to be part of the Republic?
Well,
so maybe...
Are they going to be Jedi? Because if it's going to be completely separate...
I mean,
this
technically...
could be a completely different sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
It could be, but you would have to imagine that it's going to be exploring something along the lines of, like, the Sith, or maybe it's the Knights of the Old Republic, or, you know, there could be a couple of different... arcs I think it could take. It might not necessarily chronologically take place directly after this trilogy.
You could look at that verbiage and say, this is another part of the galaxy that we've not seen yet, but it's still part of the Republic, still part of what's going on. Or it's another part of the galaxy that literally is completely separate, either doesn't know or doesn't, you know.
I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, and then at that point, it's just another movie.
That's a sci-fi movie.
It has nothing to do with Star Wars. You're like, hey, you know, or maybe this entire galaxy has nothing to do with the Republic. They don't know that whole area exists.
Yep.
Completely, it's just too far away. But they're aware of the Force.
Yeah.
The title of the movie Star Wars and not be related to the movies and not be... I think
not
a lot
Star
of
Wars.
fans would be pretty annoyed or pissed off and be like, I thought I was watching a Star Wars movie and this is just another sci-fi movie.
Yeah, even
I think there has to be a connection.
Yeah.
Even the spin-offs that have come out recently, or just, I guess, Rogue One, and then the next one's Han Solo, the movie, like, those obviously are extensions of the Skywalker saga. Yeah. So it's, you know, it'd be interesting. I mean, it's... yeah. Question?
They're making a Han Solo movie?
Yeah.
I thought he hated those.
No, he's not in it. It's young Han Solo.
Young Han Solo. Baby Han Solo.
Little tiny baby Han
Little
Solo.
tiny
They're
It's
doing
made
a
by
Han Solo
Pixar.
movie without Han Solo.
Yeah, he's young.
Without Harrison Ford, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is before he met the
I'm
Skywalker.
not going to see it.
What?
Okay. Very harsh judgment. You should see this
Well,
guy.
actually...
How do you make a Han Solo movie
her-
and not have Han Solo?
No, it has Han Solo. It doesn't have Harrison Ford.
Right. Harrison Ford is Han Solo.
Well, Harrison Ford can't go play like a young Han Solo. I mean, and props to
They
Harrison Ford.
don't
He looks
even
good for
have
his age.
him in there as like an adult later?
No, he
No,
hates
it's
Star
not.
Wars. He
I
doesn't want to be a
know.
part of
Actually,
it
he's
anymore.
coming around.
He is coming
That's
around.
why he did Force Awakens. He's coming around. He's coming around. He doesn't. He appreciates what it did for his career.
So hold on, I want to pause for a second, because what this says to me about Rian Johnson, and I think what the writing on the wall is that Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy and the whole gang over there that is in charge of the Star Wars brand must love The Last Jedi. It must be a good fucking movie if they're like, you know what, we like this so much, you're hired to make the next trilogy. So, to me, this gets me excited to go see Last Jedi because the trailers already look pretty good. I told Kendall a while ago, and I think I told you guys, but I've only watched the first trailer for The Last Jedi, and I refuse to watch any more trailers for it.
I'm with you.
I want to go in just as completely blind as I possibly can.
And I purposely missed beginning trailers for movies I've seen recently, just in case. Like Thor, I missed the beginning trailers on purpose. The only one I saw was the new Justice League trailer. Other than that, I missed all the other trailers on purpose.
Yep. And that just, to me, that gets me,
which is hard to do because the trailers are awesome, and that's just I'm just avoiding Jedi. Because, and I got the new Black Panther trailer. I knew I missed that one.
Ooh, that one. That movie looks sneaky good.
Yeah,
that movie looks sneaky
really good.
Yeah, that looks gonna be awesome. So anyways, so to me that's a really good sign. And then next piece of news here, in addition to the announcement from Lucasfilm that they're going to be moving forward with Rian Johnson to head his new trilogy of the Star Wars movies, Disney confirmed a new live-action Star Wars TV series that's going to be part of Disney's upcoming streaming platform. Those motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Those motherfuckers. They know how to get you to sign up.
No, I don't. Not a fan of that.
If you're going to sign up for their live-action Star Wars.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to watch a live-action Star Wars TV show. I'm not going to not watch that. So, yeah, I'm going to sign up for fucking Disney's thing because you're going to have to. And damn it.
I say stick to what you know. Just do the movies. Make it special. Because when you overflood the market with Star Wars, you lose the specialness that was the original three.
So that was going to be one of my questions today. Yeah, this is for the whole group. Are we reaching the point of too much Star Wars? Yeah. Was part of the magic of Star Wars that we only had those 6 movies?
I mean, you had the books too, but
3 movies.
Well, we did that episode with episode 1, 2, and 3. I mean, that ruined it, I think, because there was no need to know that backstory to begin with.
But I think we all, I don't know how you guys feel about it, or Gus, I know I've talked to these guys, but I was under the impression that the last Star Wars movie, why am I blanking on the name?
Force Awakens
was great. I thought it was fantastic.
I liked it. Mm-hmm.
So is that a good sign moving forward, that maybe the franchise has landed back in good hands and too much of a good thing?
I love, the trilogy. I'm fine with them. Even though the prequels, people are not a fan of them, I'm okay with them doing that. Every couple years a new movie comes out. But when you have a series and you have these movies and now you're having spin-off movies, and now I feel like it's too much, and you're flooding the market to where now it's no longer as special as it used to be. The original 3 were just so special. Even the prequels couldn't take away from how amazing the first 3. And now it's just imagine you had a kid and you're trying to introduce him to Star Wars. I feel like the magic has just been lost because now there's 25 movies out and a whole series.
Well, and there's that whole argument before all these other ones had come out. When you have kids, which movie are you going to show them? Are you going to show them episode 1 and have them start from the beginning, or are you going to show them episode 4 and have them start from there?
Start with that.
And
that's the way to
I
do it.
think you're right, though. I think you are right in the sense that we are going to lose that magic, but I think at the same time, it just doesn't mean that for people anymore. And I think it's becoming a universe that doesn't necessarily need that. I mean, think of our superheroes. We don't need to know their original, comic book. We don't need to know their original story because we know the overarching story.
Yeah, and regardless of that, we keep getting beaten over the head with origin stories, and this is how Batman lost his parents.
Right.
We get it. We know.
Plus, all the people who love Star Wars and love Star Wars, but they're not the heavy fans that some of us are. With a movie coming out every other year and it's just a trilogy, they're up to speed on Star Wars as much as I am. Yep. And now if you're throwing all these, there's already an animated series, and now there's going to be a live action, and you're just putting all this, and now people are all I've seen is the movies, but there's a whole universe that I'm missing from.
And that's where, this is what's interesting to me. For that reason specifically, this move to have Rian Johnson create a new trilogy it might be the fact that, is it hard for kids these days to go back and watch the first 3 Star Wars? You just did this. Yeah, you just did it. We just watched the first, not the first 3, but the ones from the 70s, 4, 5, and 6.
I have a hard time watching 4, 5, 6, and I have a hard time sitting through it.
Why?
Oh, so good.
Because this is really interesting.
The first Star Wars movie I ever saw was Episode 3.
Okay, the best of those, we can all agree. Like the best of those, yeah.
But it was also like, 1 had Hayden Christensen. 2, it was the newest one with like the best graphics, and so then like suddenly like going back and trying to watch other ones, I was like, I don't really care to watch this. It doesn't look as good.
See, but I didn't watch those for the graphics.
Right.
And I remember the very first time I saw them, like I was a kid, and I remember watching through them and noticing and being like, oh my god, that's his father. Like, that's insane. And I think to me,
your
it
first
was
like plot twist as a kid. Like most kids' first plot twist is that. You're like, wait, what?
But I get it because my sister, she was a fan of Episode 1. Her favorite character is Jar Jar Binks of all characters.
No. Can we
and she
interview
knows,
her?
No, and she's smart. I mean, she's seen all of them.
She's smart.
She's seen all of them, and she gets why she should not like Jar Jar Binks, but she still loves Jar Jar Binks. And I'm like, I don't know why. She's like, well, I grew up with this. Like, this was what my childhood was. And I'm like, okay, I get it.
So,
and I think, if anything, having new like mediums, new different shows and movies or whatever is going to open it up for different generations.
And if you have somebody like Brogan, who's a total snob when it comes to what he's watching on TV, there's not like that respect going back for how it used to look.
You mean by like graphics and like best looking and well shot movies and stuff like that.
It still looks good.
Yeah, you have a respect for Star Wars because of
what it meant to
like
me as a kid.
what it meant to you as a kid. But going back to go watch something like that, you would not want to do that because of the way it looked. You would rather watch the new ones.
I mean, that is true. And I have to agree with that. And I think that's like one of the things to bring up is that I would venture to guess that like most of us who really love Star Wars either grew up at the time that it came out or like watched it with our dads or like watched it with like our cousins or something like that. And like the first time you watched Star Wars was probably a bonding moment with either, again, like your dad or older brother or whoever it might have been. And then that's the reason that it means so much to you. And the fact that it's a good story. It's a good story. It's a really good story and well told. But you're right. I mean, for you to go back and watch those movies, like I would imagine as someone who like doesn't have that background or doesn't have
the
that,
nostalgia.
Like, you don't have the nostalgia, so you're just going in, you're watching it, and you're like, this kind of just looks like a bad play, like from your point of view, right? Because most of it's practical effects, and most of it's, whatever, and so that is interesting. So my whole point of this is, and the reason I bring that up is that maybe what this opportunity is for Rian Johnson is to create the Star Wars that goes forward. Maybe this really is the end of the Skywalker saga in this trilogy that we're in right now. Maybe this does wrap it up because this is the time where like we're all invested as the original Star Wars fans. And I say that like not to like disparage people who are just getting into the series or people who, are, passively into the series, but like for those people who grew up having it mean something to them, maybe this is the end of that road for those people. But Star Wars will live on in a different way for a new generation with this new trilogy. And so like to me that's interesting. And I would actually prefer that. And maybe to your point, like, let's not get too much of the Skywalker saga. Like, I think we've explored every corner of that story. If we can wrap this up, let's do it and maybe move on. I'd be down for moving on to something new because it's something new and it's in a world that we know, and that would be interesting.
The funny thing you said that they trusted this director so much for The Last Jedi to give him 3 more movies. That's very different than the director for the Han Solo movie, who was fired. Straight up fired, because apparently he turned
Phil Lord.
No, apparently he turned the Han Solo movie into a like Three Stooges kind of thing. Very goofy, which is amazing that how much power a director has, because that's not how it was written.
Yeah.
They literally, the writers and producers came to this and been like, hey, how did you turn this into an Ace Ventura movie when what we wrote was nothing like that? And that's how much a director can influence a movie positively or negatively, that he got booted, and everybody's a little nervous right now. Granted, they're going to have to reshoot a lot.
That's a great point. A great point. I forgot they brought in Ron Howard, by the way.
Yeah, Ron Howard.
That's really interesting. Actually, I think that movie's going to turn out pretty good. Lando Calrissian is played by Donald Glover. I think it's going to be pretty awesome.
It'll be a fun movie. I'm not a big fan of the Han Solo character as much as everybody else is. I think he's a fun character. I would rather see a Boba Fett than I would see a young Han Solo, but I loved Rogue One, so I'm hoping this will be just as good as like a Rogue One movie.
Yeah. I want to shift gears here a little bit and get into a review section of our show. Now I know Gus and Kendel, you guys have not seen Thor. But I do want to talk about that a little bit just while it's fresh. I know Wyatt and I have seen